Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining today for this special discussion about O4U Momentum. My name is Derek Horn, and I am a senior designer at Beardwood & Co. and a board member at Alpha Undergrad, also known as O4U. Today, I'm joined by O4U's Executive Director, Cindi Love, and Allyn Shaw and Byron Slosar, co-chairs of the newly founded initiative called O4U Momentum. Allyn Shaw is a seasoned executive with over 30 years of experience in baking and technology. This March, he's stepping into his new role as Chief Technology Execution and Performance Officer at Truist, where he'll lead technology strategy and innovation to enhance customer experiences. Previously, he served as Managing Director and COO of Consumer Technology at Wells Fargo, President of Recycle Track Systems, and held key leadership roles at Bank of America, NTT, and Sprint. Allyn even holds a U.S. patent in advanced computing. Beyond his corporate career, he's a globally recognized LGBTQ plus leader, serving as chair of the board for the NYC LGBT Center and former chair of the board at Out and Equal. Byron Slosar is the founder and CEO of Hello Hive, whose patented recruitment technology is reshaping how top companies like Goldman Sachs, KPMG, Yahoo, and L'Oreal find and retain talent. A first-time founder and CEO, Byron has coached over 10,000 students towards their careers, despite never having an internship himself. Growing up Jewish in Louisiana but attending Catholic school, navigating life as one of 6 siblings, and coming out at age 26, his unconventional path from sociology major to tech innovator fuels Hive's mission to reimagine what relevant experience means in hiring. So to get us started, Cindi, could you please give us the elevator pitch of O4U Momentum and share how it fits into the mission of Alpha Undergrad?
Sure, thank you. And please, Allyn and Byron, just know how very much we appreciate you being here, and Derek for facilitating. So O4U's mission is to help high-achieving LGBTQ2+ undergraduates achieve their full potential. And for us, over 20 years, we have come to believe that the best way to achieve that potential is through helping them land great jobs in great companies, where they will be fully supported in the advancement of their careers. So economic and social mobility is the key for us. Without that, it's a struggle. So today we have 4 conferences. We invite 1,000 students out of about 1,800 applicants every year to attend those conferences. We cover topics like authenticity, what matters most in life and work, career prep, and then we introduce them directly to 211 of the world's leading corporations for internships and jobs. Over 70% of our attendees get their first internship or job through O4U. Momentum, why does it matter? Well, we're in a very interesting time right now where certain segments of our student population are being targeted by external groups. And as a result, some of our sponsors are going to be prohibited, as in the case of federal contractors, or for other reasons, from actually underwriting or funding our historic sponsorship, full sponsorship of each student's attendance. We are mindful of that and therefore have created this student sponsorship fund to endow so that we know that no matter what happens, we can always continue to provide equity, particularly for those students who may no longer be able to have the support they've had in the past. That's one aspect of the campaign. There's several others which we'll discuss as we go through.
Great. Allyn and Byron, could you please tell us more about the campaign? What are the goals? Who should support it and why?
Derek, happy to talk a little bit about just the importance of the Out4U campaign, and in particularly anyone who cares about the lives of the next generation of young people, and most particularly LGBTQ plus people, should support this campaign. We have to create an unobstructed pathway and put these young people to work so they have the resources to determine who they want to be without external forces erasing their opportunities. Corporations who want the best and brightest working for them should support this campaign as well. They are brilliant, motivated, creative, inclusive, empathetic, and their values are held incredibly deeply. Gen Z has told us very clearly that they do not want to work in places that exclude LGBTQ plus people or otherwise diverse individuals. If we want Gen Z on board, we need to get behind them, pure and simple. There are 3 parts of this campaign. First, an O4U Momentum Student Scholarship Fund. Second, doubling the number of students admitted to O4U programs over the next 5 years. And three, supporting corporate recruiters and sponsors in this time of fracture. Now, the first two goals require financial investment. McKinsey recently completed a study of O4U's need to broaden and deepen our revenue sources due to the extreme volatility in corporate recruitment budgets and increasing conference and travel costs. The O4U Momentum Student Scholarship Fund is one way to secure our ability to continue to serve students. We want to endow the scholarship fund to cover their expenses for attendance at our conferences, and our goal is very bold. We want 2,000 people to commit $100 per month or $1,200 per annum. This will endow our student scholarship fund and make it possible for us to always guarantee equity and participation. We will introduce our students to donors and invite them to engage with us in our mentoring programs, alumni network events, and learning community. The next goal is placing increasing numbers of O4U graduates at leading global corporations, government agencies, private equity, and venture-backed firms, and entrepreneurial companies. This is 5,000 to 10,000 over the next 5 years. This number is twice the historical admission rate to O4U conferences. We've created a year-round learning community, extended me mentoring, a leadership summit, and an alumni network to support these additional students and graduates in making their way into amazingly great jobs. We need to raise $1.5 million to ensure sustainability for these programs. So we need your help.
Thanks, Allyn. And I think it's important to kind of talk about what you said around including everyone in this campaign. So whether you're an individual recent graduate getting $1,200 a year, or you're a corporate foundation looking at hopefully what's going to be 6- and 7-figure gifts to the campaign, we want to make sure that everyone feels included and activated. Of course, too, we are wide open to contributions being public or anonymous, whatever makes you comfortable. The next goal is not about money, but it's inextricably linked to the commitments of corporations to O4U Momentum at this critical time in history. We want to ensure that these students are supported and retained, ensuring not only their success, but high performance for their employers. They bring their unique perspectives and strengths, their inclusion instincts, network thinking, authenticity, active listening, creativity, global connectedness, the list goes on to the workplace. They will lift their work environments, and they will lift the world as social change makers of this generation. This is not the time for corporations to step back from aggressively recruiting candidates like the ones that O4U brings to them. As we know that it's not easy to advocate for support in some places right now, part of our gift of appreciation to our corporate sponsors and donors is an invitation to our trainings on how to lead in a time of fracture. We recognize the risk, and we know the reward of advocating for and mentoring these students. We want to help internal champions in the capacity that you can and you're comfortable with what we have learned over the past 20 years about resiliency in tough times. I was recently at a conference where I heard Cindi speak, and I come out of every conference with a few words and nuggets of just true genius. And what she said was, she had a slide up that said, the true form of resistance is focus. And so I think if we all think about the ways that we can impact, it doesn't have to be broad-based or loud or only financial, but if we focus on the ways that we can personally and professionally impact the goals of this generation of talent, it's going to be truly hopeful and inspiring.
Thank you. I think you're the brilliant one.
I love that. Yeah, Byron.
So Byron and Allyn, you're both very busy people, as your intro bios probably teed up. Why have you chosen O4U Momentum as part of your life right now?
Well, Derek, I have to go back to Billie Jean King, right? Her famous quote is that pressure is a privilege.
Yeah.
And so I'm privileged to not only to be engaged in this community, but engaged in this work. And if not now, when? This is the time that we all need to come to the table and do what is right to ensure that generations after us will thrive, will continue to thrive. And so, again, let's just talk about the work that Cindi is doing in the organization, and let it be incredibly clear. Momentum is more than a program. It's a movement. And at a time when social polarization and economic disparity threatens progress, investing in the next generation of high-performing, value-driven leaders is not just a commitment, it's a necessity. And O4U has spent 2 decades proving that inclusion, when intentional and deeply embedded, is a catalyst for success. So I'm incredibly proud to stand with Momentum to ensure that talented individuals from all backgrounds not only enter, but thrive in the corporate ecosystem, lifting companies, industries, and communities in the process. For me, I love Maya Angelou, by the way, bringing the gifts my ancestors gave. I'm the hope and the dream of the slave. And when I think about the people who risked their lives, who lost their lives, for the opportunity for me to be here and sit with all of you right now today, as a banker, as a technologist, as a member of a board, as an entrepreneur, as a friend, right? This is why it matters. These are moments that matter. And so this is why, at least for me, I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life. So this is why this is important. This is why we all are here today to talk about this important program and ensure its success and its durability.
What he said, and number one, I'm doing this because I don't think I can ever say no to anything that Cindi Love asks me to do. So let's just put that out there in the universe. I was honored to have her get me involved. But I look at personally, lots of people ahead of me worked for me to have the privilege of being married to my wonderful husband, to having a beautiful 7-year-old, almost 7-year-old little boy. And while I'm doing this to impact all of these young people everywhere, I'm also making sure that my little man's going to be okay. There are, frustrating times, there are celebratory times. I needed out for undergrad when I was in college, right? I didn't have that. Don't know what little Byron's going to need when he's in college, but the more organizations like Out for Undergrad that we empower in times like this, leave the door open for whatever resources he's going to need as well. And so as we look at us creating impact right now for this community, for O4U, us doing this also unlocks the ability to do it for other communities that we don't know are going to need this down the road, and we can't stop helping, right? And so my personal background is in fundraising, so I actually am one of those folks that love asking people for money. So that's another reason that I'm here, because this is going to be a challenging campaign. Let's call the elephant in the room, but it's never been more important. And so I think it's an honor or privilege to be associated with it, and I appreciate the invitation to be involved.
So there's a lot that is uncertain right now for our community, but is there anything that you're hopeful for as you look to the future? And do you have any advice for young people who are currently at the start of their careers?
I think it's an interesting moment. Byron mentioned the difficulties of what we're all facing today, whether you're a dad like Byron and his husband and raising a little one and having to think about what is the environment, the legal environment, the emotional, social, economic environment that we're raising children, or the work that Cindi's doing with O4U and making sure that our youngest, our best, our brightest have an amazing future, that they can truly thrive and be their true selves. I think if you take the moment we're in right now, young people, young adults, those that are starting to really embrace their careers, have the ability to lead. I think what we're witnessing at this moment, in some instances, is a lack of leadership. And I believe the answer to that are those who are part of O4U. This is your chance, whether you're Gen Z or whether you're just now getting into the workforce, whatever the case may be. This is your opportunity to actually lead us. Just because we might be older doesn't mean we're smarter. Just because we may have come before you doesn't mean we understand where to go next. And so I think in this particular moment, our O4U students, our O4U young adults, they're actually the leaders of tomorrow. And this is the time we need them to lead more than ever today.
Allyn, I love that. And I think too, like when we think about leading, I inherently am a massively extroverted introvert, right? I get nervous in big crowds. I over prep for things like this. I think when we think about the definition of leading for these young people, there's an opportunity for you, the next generation of talent, to be heard without always having to have a loud voice,
Mhm.
right? To find where you're really good, where your pocket is. I think there's a lot of pressure, to be the rainmakers and to be in the front of the crowd. And speaking from experience, you can do a lot with no one knowing who you are, right?
Mm.
And you can do a lot with sitting in the passenger seat a little bit. And so as you think about how to impact and how to, lead us folks down the road, um, go to your strengths and your comfort zones and don't necessarily think that you have to step out of those. And, there are many opportunities for you to for many people to hear your thoughts without you always needing to always be on stage.
And I think that's something that's been overlooked in the past in the areas of activism and advocacy. There've always been people who backed everyone else up, but there have also been so many people in my life who would have never named themselves as an
Mhm.
activist,
Mm.
but in fact were instrumental in me even getting to do the work that I did. And I think really, Byron, that's what you've illuminated and what you've said. And I think people are looking for that right now.
Mhm.
If I don't wave a flag, does that mean I can still do something? And
Right.
figuring out how to do that out of your strength. The other quote from that conference that you were at that I loved, it was not mine, was fear is a terrible compass.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I've been thinking about that so much. It's maybe the biggest job we have to do right now is to demonstrate to our students and to our community, we are here together, we're
Right.
present in your success and advocating for your success. And I don't know that anyone would say we're not afraid, but I think the thing I would say is that fear is not my compass.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
love that quote.
And
And I
when
can't,
you're, yeah, go ahead. Go
no,
ahead,
I
Cindi.
can't attribute it, but that's what it was there.
What came to me when you said that, because you're right, it's okay to experience fear. It's a natural human emotion. And the reaction to that or the response to that should be to convene those that are part of your flock, part of your community, and to organize,
Mhm.
right? Just like you've organized this conversation. And Byron, like I was reading through some of your information. I need to talk to you about how I can leverage Hive to recruit amazing tech talent,
Yes.
at my new job. And so this is a great example we are really truly better when we're together, and you can drive ideas, you can meet someone who has similar experiences that you can learn from, or you might just be the person that someone needed to hear and needed to say hello to help them make a difficult decision. And so we can never underestimate the value of our presence and being present and convening and truly doing this together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alan, you
Perfect.
talked about this being a movement earlier, and it made me remember, Cindi, you probably don't remember half the things that you tell me that I like journal about, but when all of this was happening, I called Cindi, and her spirit animal for me that day was my therapist, and I said, I need you to tell me something that's going to make me okay with all of this. And I think what she said to me, Alan, we can now say to our young people, she said, every generation is going to have a movement. This one's yours.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
as we look at this and how um, the way in which you presented this as a movement earlier, is familiar to me, and I had to grab where that was resonating, but it really was. This is
Yeah.
our movement, and this is their
Yeah.
movement, but it's that big right now.
Yeah.
I believe that's true.
So, as we wrap things up, Cindi, could you please tell listeners where they can go if they want to get involved with O4U Momentum?
Yes, you'll be able to go to our website, which www.outforundergrad.org. And there'll be information there, both the brochure that covers everything about the campaign and also how people can donate. I would also invite people to just connect with me personally. And my email is easy because it's Cindi and I spell it with an I, Cindi, at outforundergrad.org. Would love to have conversations with anyone about any aspect um, and hope that you'll find your place in this campaign, in this movement, in this work with us in whatever way that comes for you?